Hi everyone, thanks for joining, for taking the time. This is basically a similar event to the one that we had a few months ago, which was called Coffee with the CEO. Basically, the goal is to go through quickly through all the things that were done in the last few months, important updates on the tech side, updates that are live on the tech side, things that are currently in progress, what's our roadmap for the next few months, again on the tech side and on the substrate modules, and then we can also discuss about all the upcoming again infrastructural things that are not directly built by Reef but by other projects building on top of Reef, and then we can discuss about a few depths as well. And then we can talk about the staking part as well, all the integrations that are coming, and then I will take some questions from the Twitter post, and I guess that would do it. So first of all, I want to start with I think for a lot of users this is a bit boring because it's tech. So I assume a lot of people want to hear about depths and not about substrate modules, but I think it's important to tap into these. So for the newcomers who don't know what exactly Reef is, so Reef is a modular blockchain. That's why we call it the third generation of blockchains. It's built with the substrate framework. So basically everything, including the smart contract execution layer, is a module itself, even the consensus algorithm. This means that, as you've seen, all these other blockchains that are EVM compatible, such as Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum, they're basically just an EVM instance with different parameters. Some of them have a bit different staking algorithm. They're cheaper, etc. But overall, they're exactly the same. Reef has EVM compatibility, but the way it's done is completely different than all the other blockchains. And the reason behind this, we believe in multi-chain, but also we believe in multi-virtual machine. What does multi-virtual machine mean? Like, I wanna try to simplify and try to even if I use this tech jargon, I still want the users to understand what exactly this means. So, as we know, Ethereum was the first smart contract platform, and they came with the EVM, which stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. And in Ethereum Virtual Machine, it's basically a smart contract execution platform where one can write some code that is immutable, that can execute certain functions, and the users, and depends on how complex this function is, the user needs to pay the gas. So, for example, if you're transferring a ERC20 token, that's a smart contract. It costs more than transferring native Ethereum to another address because it does a bit more complex operation. So what happened over time is the most adopted programming language for building EVM smart contracts was Solidity. The good thing about Solidity is it's similar to JavaScript, so the idea is that adoption would be easy. But this programming language is very limited. So when you create, so you cannot really create very complex smart contracts. It doesn't even have some complicated math function like square root. Everything had to be implemented from scratch. It's a little bit, especially for DeFi, it's not the most sophisticated language. That's why a lot of developers decided to take the next level and come up with another smart contract execution platform. And there has been multiple attempts, and you have WebAssembly as well, and Rust as well. So what we wanted to do with Reef is have support for all of them, have support for the most adopted smart contract platforms. So then when the developers come, some of them that do know Solidity, that they have been developing for Ethereum and other EVM compatible chains, they can easily move their smart contracts on Reef within a few hours. They just need to replace, instead of using MetaMask, to our extension. And the reason why we do not support MetaMask is that our cryptography is completely different. It's like way more advanced cryptography than any other blockchain out there. It's similar to Polkadot actually, which is technically a network of blockchains. It's not really a smart contract execution platform. So yeah, the goal is to add multiple virtual machines, and that's one of the reasons why we call it the third generation. Because and the next, this is the update. The next substrate module would be another smart contract platform, which will be WebAssembly. You'll be able to compile in WebAssembly, and the cool thing about it is that it will be done through an on-chain upgrade. So all the validators like that are running the nodes, they do not need to update the client. Everything is happening through the networking layer. Another reason why we call it third generation. It's similar to Google Chrome, how you've never updated your Google Chrome. It automatically updates in the background. It has its own protocol for that, so you don't need to download, you don't need to install and delete the previous version. So all the other, most of the other blockchains do not have this functionality. So for them, it's so hard for them to push an on-chain upgrade. It's technically impossible. So yeah, these capabilities that Reef has, it's now basically time to, besides being EVM compatible, I will talk about this in a second, all the tools that we've been building, all the tools that we improved for the Ethereum community even. We're going to focus on adding more virtual machines, as well as we are discussing when can we also introduce ZK module. This is ZK stands for zero knowledge proofs. It's a very interesting concept. It's not a new concept. It existed for a while, but it is extremely hard to implement it. And now with the tech stack that we have in Reef, we believe it's doable. So we started our research on this, and basically being modular blockchain with adding multiple virtual machines and ZK and whatnot would literally make Reef the best tech out there. No doubt about that. Now let me go back to the EVM side. So on the technical update, what is important is if we start from the very bottom, which is the tooling layer. This is what the developers need in order to deploy smart contracts. So below that layer is the actual blockchain, but a lot of developers that develop smart contracts, they're not blockchain developers. They are smart contract developers. There is a very big difference between these, because blockchain developers, they again write the blockchain layer in Rust or in other programming language, C++ maybe, while it's basically like, if I compare it with iOS on iPhone, someone is building the operating system and someone is building the apps on top of that operating system. So Reef, our dev team, the main competence is building the blockchains, and that's what we are doing. But we know that in order to get more adoption, we need to make the tooling the best in class. What does this mean is, for example, developers need a few things. They need to write the code base, they need to compile the code base, they need to deploy the code base, they need to verify and audit the code base. So there's like many steps until the dApp goes live. So what happened is in the Ethereum community, a lot of these things were like very fragmented. Like you had to go to one tool to write the code base, which is basically the IDE that supports the Solidity programming language. So you get like syntax highlight and stuff, and then you had to deploy it through another tool. You had to compile it through another tool and deploy it through the same tool, but then you had to verify it through a third. It's like very complicated. So what we've been focused on with these tools is we wanted to make it the most simple way to deploy smart contracts by completely like eliminating jumping through many steps. So what happens right now, we have the hard hat implementation, and we have it's the link is in the documentation. Whoever is interested, basically, even if you're not a blockchain developer, you can go deploy your own ERC20 directly from the source code. The source code is preloaded for the token. Just as an example, smart contract is basically like a hello world smart contract. So what you do is you connect the extension. The extension supports Ledger. That means that the smart contract will be deployed through an address that's stored on a hardware wallet, so it's extremely secure. You write the code base there, you compile the code base there, you deploy the code base. You can do it through the extension. It can be hot wallet or cold wallet. And then once you deploy it, we have a process that will automatically verify the whole chain of smart contracts, because you might have a very complicated app which requires 5 or 6 smart contracts linked in between. So they're all verified. And then all this data is also stored in the block explorer. So you get the green check mark in Reef Scan, and that this means that the users are now aware that what they're interacting with is completely verified. Obviously, the audit is not included because you need another third-party company to put a badge on that. And we are right now working with a few of them. So basically, it's an integration between Reef Scan and certain third parties, which will basically, when you open the address to the smart contract, you will see that this address was verified by, for example, Halborn or etc. This suite is something that no other blockchain has from the very beginning to the very end. And obviously, the idea is to simplify everything. So that's on the tooling side. I don't want to bore you too much. I will just skip to something that's a bit more user friendly, which is the block explorer. So most of the block explorer that you see out there are basically just Etherscan, and they are compatible for the standard EVM, the Ethereum spin-off, such as Polygon and BSC, etc. So it's very easy for these blockchains to just take Etherscan, change the colors, and deploy it. But building your own block explorer is way harder. I will take a few seconds to explain why. So what happens is you have a node that is listening to all the new blocks that are coming, and then every block might contain certain information. It might be a NFT transfer, it might be Reef 20 token transfer, it might be interaction with a smart contract, maybe DeFi product, maybe lending, maybe a DEX, etc. So what you do is, in order for the dEPs to be really performant, the blockchain is very bad data structure for storing, for querying data. So if you want to check, give me all the addresses that contain, let's say, 5 Reef 20 token, we can call it like fish or whatever. It's extremely hard to do that. It will take and then as the time progresses, the more blocks are produced, the longer it takes. So what we do in the landscape, it's called crawling the block. So every time a new block is created, you extract this data out, and then you store it in a database. You store it in different tables. So this will be like NFT transfers. This will be, and then you can fetch the metadata. You can take the JPEG from IPFS, etc., etc. And then all of these things need to be built from scratch for us, because it's a new blockchain. The whole infrastructure is different. It's not just another Ethereum instance. So we decided to do it in a way where we have GraphQL support. It's a real time. So if you've noticed on Etherscan, when you were checking a transaction, it says pending, for example, and then you need to refresh the page multiple times in order to see basically the change that happened. While in ReefScan, everything is real time. So when someone sends you money, you don't need to do anything. It just automatically updates in the wallet, in the mobile app that's coming. I will talk about that later. In the block explorer, in ReefSwap, everywhere. So it's like a real time data stream. So for the block explorer, the V12 is public. It has a few technical upgrades, like deleted smart contracts are marked properly, etc. This is just some details that I don't want to bore you with, but you can go on our blog, and if you want to take a look into more depth of what's going on. Now a bit on the Reef mobile app. The Reef mobile app is in progress, similar to the web wallet. It's we are building it with something we call Reef UI Kit. If you haven't seen it, it's a very cool. We built a very cool browser where you can take a look at all the components. You can see the buttons, the tabs, the lists, the tables, etc. So this is something that's open source and that any developer can go they can take these components and they can build a Reef Dev that looks very similar to our wallet. And our wallet is also built with the UI kit. Our extension is built with the UI kit. So all the products look similar between themselves. The block explorer needs a few more tweaks because it's not using all the components, but that should be done within the next month. So the Reef Dev is getting. Actually, it's the second time we're redoing this because I really want like a very high quality product, real time. It needs to be like best in class, best for user experience, for onboarding, for security. So right now, I think probably in 2 to 3 weeks, we will start accepting closed beta alpha testing through test flight. We will share some codes so users will be able to play with it. They will be able to find some bugs. It's like a bounty program. They can give some feedback. Maybe like the UX is not good here, or maybe it can be improved. Certain ideas. Obviously, we have a reward pool for this. So whoever is contributing to the ecosystem needs to be rewarded. And yeah, so that's also coming. Stay tuned. You will hear about it through our Twitter channel. And yeah, so now besides the Reef stuff, I want to talk about Reef and the rest of the world. So as you've guys seen, it's the market conditions have been really bad, and the whole system was really over leveraged through DeFi protocols and stuff. And we've seen the fall of big projects such as Luna. So we wanted to really help the projects that were building on top of Luna. We launched a 200K fund grant basically just for these projects. We are already working with a few of them that planned to deploy on Luna. They're really good builders. So we did that, and we will keep supporting to us the developer community is extremely important. Attracting the best builders to test out Reef to see the quality of the product that we build is our number one goal. Besides that, a lot of you have been waiting for the Binance staking. Now it's finally live. So first we had to do the Reef Chain integration, which was a very big deal because when you get an exchange like Binance, tier one, probably the best, it's definitely the best exchange to integrate your blockchain. So that means that, Binance can be used as a bridge, as an basically entry point to the Reef ecosystem. It's very exciting. And then with them, we continue to like deeper relationship, such as we added staking, and we're coming with a lot of other things that I cannot share right now, but it's all very exciting. We also did the earn and learn campaign. Again, the goal was to educate the users how to use the extension, how to interact with the Reef ecosystem, to take a look at the wallet, and then they get rewarded for this. Besides this, we've been onboarding a lot of other projects. You can see that on our Telegram. What we are doing is we are summarizing basically the progress in two different categories. The first is dev or tech update. This is for a lot of users a bit boring, but this is basically for the developer community update. And then we have for the actual community, for the user community update, we have like discussing about like the ecosystem and the partners and all the opportunities that they have in order to how can they participate into this. And last but not least, we also got the Coinbase custody support. We are working towards deeper relationship with Coinbase as well. So I think this will be also extremely exciting. What we are doing now on the BD side, on the business development side, besides using the ecosystem fund cautiously now that the market is not looking good, we have to make sure that Reef can survive for many years to come, no matter what. If we have 2 years bear market, 3 years bear market, we are basically prepared for the worst. And the fact that we are infrastructure project gives us a tremendous advantage because it's not attached to just one trend like NFT or DeFi, which has a certain lifespan. This is, highest tech infrastructure project, which obviously has been surviving throughout good and bad times. So that's something that I wanted to share. That Reef is more than properly funded, and we can survive for many years. We can keep building, etc. And now that the market is not looking very good, it's actually for us, for the builders, it's getting better because more talent is becoming available. Like all these developers, that a lot of projects are trying to downscale, like reduce their burn rate. On the opposite, we are trying to attract more talent. If you've seen, even with the exchanges, some of the exchanges like Binance are hiring a ton of people, while some exchanges are reducing their staff. So basically, we are grateful that we can be the ones that that will be able to not just survive in this bear market but thrive. Besides this, we've started increasing the developer events. So we're onboarding more developer evangelists, people that can spread the word about our tech, that will teach new developers how to use the tech, etc. So we've been attending a few events. We've been having a meetup in India, and more of these meetups are coming, and more of them we will be doing them in person. We've also attended Capital 2022, which was virtual, but our goal is to just keep being present physically as much as possible, because we believe that's the best way to connect with the developers, so they can see that the Reef team is pretty big. We were like one of the biggest team in the Binance blockchain week. We were over 12 people of the team there. We had the best booth, etc. So physical presence now after COVID is also extremely important to us. Okay, so besides this, I think now you've got an idea where we are headed. Our tech is improving. It's not stagnant. A lot of blockchains are stagnant because they don't have the capabilities to upgrade themselves. They, from the very beginning where they were built, they were meant for just one purpose, while Reef is flexible. This means that Reef can shift based on what the market needs. So the market needs WebAssembly smart contracts. People don't want to do Solidity smart contracts anymore. No problem. We will not be deprecated. That second, the bear market strategy, that we are more than ready for this. This is extremely important for the users, because you will see over the next few years a lot of projects will disappear. Reef is not going to be one of them. And third, we keep expanding the team. We keep pushing these updates. It's extremely active. You can take a look at our GitHub. And I think now, throughout the bear market, whoever is not a developer but want to get involved in Web3 development, I really encourage people to start learning this, because I believe this will be like in 5 to 10 years from now, it's gonna be extremely important. It's basically gonna be like web development. All the technology basically will be built with this. All right, so that's it. I want to now go through the questions, address as many of them as possible. Yeah, there are quite a few here, so I will try to pick the ones that are not repeated. So there is one guy that asks about the bridges. When will the bridges will be connected with other blockchains? When will WASM be activated? So for WASM, it will definitely be this year. This is basically another virtual machine, so it takes a lot of time to get it done properly, to audit it properly. The audit always takes like at least 10 weeks, and it's multiple companies doing it in parallel. But this year we are definitely getting WASM smart contracts. Regarding the bridges, we are working with multi-chain, or AnySwap for some of you that that know their previous name, is I think one of the most reputable bridges. So we are currently in process of finalizing the integration with them, and with this we are starting, to get. This is actually one of the most exciting part for me, because we are starting like to get tokens such as USDT and USDC on Reef. So basically the TVL keeps growing, and more opportunities are coming. People are deploying more dApps, because some of them are like, look, I can deploy the dApp, but I need USDC. So once the bridge is finalized, all of this will start flowing in and out of the ecosystem. You can swap between not just Reef Ethereum, but you can swap between Reef and Polygon and a lot of other chains. There's that. There's a lot of questions about the supply. I want to address this as well. So basically, just like a lot of other blockchains, you have different like token mechanisms. But in most of them, even starting from Bitcoin to Ethereum onwards, you have these miners or validators that are running the node. They are the ones that are validating the blocks. And for this work, if it's a proof of work, for example, they need to be invested in ASICs for Bitcoin. You need graphic cards for Ethereum, etc. So all these people that are like miners, they want to have return on the money that they invested, right? So in Reef's case, you have it's a nominated proof of stake. So you don't need to have hardware in order to run the blockchain, but you need to have tokens in order to become a validator. So you can either have your own tokens and nominate yourself if you have enough tokens. Like a lot of our validator set is, private sale investors, very early people that went in Reef very early, and they stick with us, and we are very proud of that. And they have been accumulating more and more tokens over the last few months. So they just nominated themselves as a validator. So when you see a certain validator having 100% commission, that means it's one guy having enough tokens himself to nominate himself as a validator. And this way he's earning APY on his tokens, and that's completely fine. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to make this, because everyone is interested in staking. Staking is something that gives APY. It's something that gives you like yearly returns basically on your stake tokens. So what we did is we released a bond which is powered by a validator. So this way, all the community can earn actually even more than the guy that nominated himself, because we are able to plug more than one validator in this bond. I get the idea about the public validator program, and this is something that we are working on. We are trying to figure what's the best form. How can we, best execute on this one? But until then, for you guys all requested staking, and we delivered two different ways. One is Binance. You don't need to do anything basically. You don't need to have a wallet. You can just go there, click stake, or you can do it through the Reef bond. And the Reef bond is powered by a validator. Binance staking is powered by a validator. So now, when I say powered by validator, what does it mean? Back to the supply. We have inflation, just like Ethereum. So every time the validators validate certain block, they get certain number of tokens, and then these tokens, they go to Binance staking. They go to the single validator that, it's like some early bird in Reef that has tokens, etc. And this is basically how they're compensated for running the blockchain. And the cool thing is that we can readjust the inflation. And if you look at right now, because we also have supply on other chains, and if you take a look at the Reef Chain inflation, it's 8%, but the 8% is of the Reef Chain supply. So technically, of the total supply, the inflation is not 8%; it's lower. It's around 5%. What this means is basically from all the blockchains out there, we have like the lowest percentage of yearly inflation. And if we keep lowering this down, some of these people that are running validator nodes will not be incentivized to do so. So this needs to be balanced out. And another thing is a lot of people are tying the supply with the price, and this correlation is just not true. Like, you can go explore all the validators, you can see the rewards that they're getting, the tokens are all there, they're still in their addresses. So that doesn't mean that if they get the rewards, that doesn't mean that the price is going down. This has nothing to do. So one thing that the whole landscape has it wrong is that everyone thinks that the supply and the price is very correlated. It's not. It has some correlation, but not the. What's important is how many of the tokens hit exchanges where the price discovery happens. And take a look at the Reef scan, go under all the validators, and you will see that, you know, the supply that these guys are getting as a reward is not something that's affecting. Next question. Is the idea to become a parachain abandoned? Basically, we built a parachain which has a WASM smart contract platform. So what we're doing is if you remember, guys, we've discussed this, that when it makes sense, we will become a parachain on Polkadot, and it still doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. Like, economically, it doesn't make sense. Adoption-wise, it doesn't make sense. It's just, you know, not something that is the right step for the project. Let's see how the parachains will do through, you know, times like this. We have the tech ready, we have funding, we have supporters, we can always become one. But I believe better use of resources would be to improve Reef further, add multiple virtual machines, then become a parachain. So once this balance, you know, goes the other way, where it makes sense to be a parachain, we will do it. We can do it really fast. Next question: how Reef could prevent a crash with its RUSD in order to avoid? Oh yeah, so basically, Luna had extremely complex relation between Luna and BTC and their stablecoin UST, and then this was the model that they apparently tested, but they didn't take a lot of bad scenarios. They really just tested it in a bull market, and a lot of things in a bull market are working fine, but in a bear market they just break. Simply, they just break. They just don't work. So that's what happened to Luna, and the reason was the backing. So if for every UST there was something in the background, but it was not really a dollar. It was something that was also volatile. So it was not really a model that was sustainable on the long run. What we are doing with Reef now, we are planning two things. We are getting existing reputable stable coins on board, like BUSD, USDC, USDT, and then to simplify the way people are gonna use these stable coins, we might decide to wrap these into our own. But for every, let's say, Reef USD, there will be either one BUSD or one USDC or one USDT. This would render that stablecoin extremely stable because first it's diversified between the third most reputable stablecoins, and then it's fully transparent. There is no movement of funds, because some of these projects, they wanted to earn APY on the users locked stablecoins. Here it's just a transparency page linking to block explorers, linking to API keys from exchanges if it's necessary for BUSD, etc., etc. So it's just a, you know, there is nothing. We're not creating it out of the blue. It's basically just a user experience improvement. There is nothing else besides that. So that's why it will just not blow up. It's not possible unless some of the big stable coins like USDT, USDC, something goes wrong there. But I don't think that will happen. V9, when V9 Reef node binary, very soon. We are in the last stages of testing this out. V9 is a very big upgrade. Again, a lot of technical stuff, but it's very exciting. It's something that we've been working on for the last couple of months. You can follow the progress on GitHub there, but that's something that's ready soon. And from there, all of our resources are gonna be allocated toward the next virtual machine. Reef governments could be exposed to the same issue. What Solana did with removing that whales fund is something that will never happen to Reef. It's just, blockchain integrity. Basically, it's not a blockchain anymore. Once you start modifying stuff like that, it's just, you cannot go back. So for Reef, the integrity of the blockchain, making it as decentralized as possible is the number one priority. And some guy that's a whale, his funds will not be extracted out of the blue. That's just never gonna happen. Public validator, I already talked about that. This is a good question. When the Pseudo will be abandoned by the Reef team? Very soon, right after V9. So Pierre, again, when I realized that some of you might not know what this question means. So basically, there is this function that allows some of the validators to interfere if something goes wrong. But once the blockchain has been running for many months, you can basically burn this access, and from there on, it's basically just no matter what happens, nobody can roll back stuff like what happened to some of these other chains. Let me see some other questions from another users. Supply, talked about this. Yeah, Solana has been down. Yeah, I don't want to talk so much about the issues that the other blockchains have. I want to talk about the advantages that Reef has. And when I'm talking about these advantages, you guys should just realize that certain thing we are doing it that way because we learned some of the mistakes that other blockchains did, and we decided to do it differently. And that's one of the reasons why. Again, questions regarding bear market season and some of the coins will disappear, etc. Reef is definitely not a project that will disappear. Stable coins covered. Yeah, I think that's more. Yeah, so I think we're actually, there is a question how many people are working on the Reef team. We are over around 50 people now. We are getting more developers on board. Not just blockchain developers, we're onboarding more DApp developers, so they can further improve our extensions, our wallets, our mobile apps, etc. Helping other projects that are deploying. So yeah, we are actually growing. We are not shrinking the team. We do have strategic investors, and we have more strategic investors coming soon. But I cannot share a lot of info on this right now.